What is going on, guys? I'm so excited today. We have our back to school special. We've got, of course, Kyler Sowell, the teacher. He's going to be here with us, and we got another guest that's new to the show, Mr. Brad Burdin. We're excited to have him on here, and so we're going to be discussing some back to school challenges and sharing our faith inside the schools and different things like that, and the direction we see the schools going. So let's get started on Real Men Talk.
Welcome to Real Men Talk, discussing the tough issues facing men and their families every day. Here are your hosts.
All right. Here we go. So of course I'm always excited. Doesn't matter what we're doing. I'm super excited all the time. So, but we're gonna go ahead and introduce everybody. You guys know Kyler, but Kyler, just for new listeners, kind of go ahead and give everybody, where you teach at, what you teach, and what grades you teach.
Well, I'm actually starting a new position this year. I came into the Pablo School District about 6 years ago, 8 years coaching, and then 6 years ago teaching. I taught my first year freshman history, and I taught the last 5 years as seventh grade science at our junior high. And then this year, I'm actually starting my first job as the instructional coach for the Pablo School District. So many different hats right now. So
yeah, dude, that sounds awesome.
Different spot.
Yeah. So, and of course, Brad Burdin, we have new to the show. Brad, go ahead and introduce yourself. Of course, again, give us, what you teach, coach, the school district you're in, all the good jazz.
All right. So I am Brad Burdin. I teach at Needville, and I am currently the JAG specialist for junior high. That's Jobs for America's Graduates. This will be my second year with that program, and I coach junior high and high school basketball. So.
Awesome. You've coached basketball for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, I have. I assisted for 7 years, and this is my second year as the head coach. So it's been a while.
Yeah, you go for a championship this year?
That's the hope. We'll see.
Awesome. So both of you guys are seasoned teachers. And it's exciting to get different perspectives. Kyler's from a larger school for the area. It's really the largest school in this area. Mm-hmm. And then, Brad, you come from a smaller school in Neelyville. About how many students you have there in Neelyville?
Total, I'm not really sure, but for high school, we have about 128, and that's 9 through 12. So I'd say, maybe 300 in the entire school.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And of course, Kyler, you've got, 400, 500 students per class.
Yeah, we average about 350, I think, per class. So we got about 5,000 kids in the school district.
Yeah. So for this area, that's pretty good size.
Yeah.
Yeah. Until you get up to like Farmington or St. Louis or, and all that good jazz. So, yeah. So it's exciting to get these different perspectives. So, let's start off with something. Let's start off with something easy. What is your favorite subject to talk about or teach? So, Kyler, I know you took another role this year, started a new role. But what's your favorite subject to talk about?
My favorite one to teach was probably leadership. I got the opportunity to help create a student ambassador program at the junior high. And we implemented a couple of different leadership curriculums, and we helped develop kids into leaders that thought more, and I tried to make it more servant leadership oriented than it was any other leadership, but they got to start developing now, start trying to figure out what kind of leader they were, how they wanted to lead. They tried to develop and sculpt their leadership skills from a young age, and it just grows with them through high school, because then they get to high school, and Jenny Randolph, she's at our high school, and she teaches a leadership class that goes from there. But that's probably my favorite one, because they get to do all types of things. We did all the events and the games, the assemblies at the junior high, but then they also went out and they did different volunteer work too. So it was probably the best thing that I've taught so far.
Yeah. All right. So let's go with something. What's the most difficult thing that you guys deal with from year to year?
The hardest thing it is as a teacher, especially in a larger school, would be trying to make sure that we can develop a relationship with each and every single student. Because from mine, from the time you enter my classroom to the time you leave my classroom, you had about 50 minutes. And I have standards. I have things that I have to cover within the year. And trying to find that fine line between making sure that you care for the student and make sure that you go through the standards, because there's so much stress on teachers to get their job done, to make sure, especially in a large school district, and I'm sure it's probably the same in a small district, because I mean, now they tie test scores to funding. And so there's more and more stress put on a teacher to get through everything that they're taught and to help kids make good grades on the math tests, on the EOCs, on their, there's another one I can't remember, GLEs, I think. They may have taken that one out now, but all the state standard testing there's so much stress put on those that it's hard to push that aside and realize that these students aren't robots. They're not here to perform. They also need to be cared for, because we get them 8 hours a day, which is, especially in Poplar Bluff, is more they see than most of their family. So the hard part is trying to keep that fine line between developing the relationship with the kid and feeding into them, and then making sure that you get all your stuff done. Yeah.
What about you, Brad? What's something difficult from year to year that you deal with in Neelyville?
I would agree with Kyler. I'm a firm believer that building those relationships with those kids is how you're going to get the most success out of them anyway. Reach their full potential. If you don't have a relationship with your students, you're not going to tap in to get the potential that that they can actually achieve. But at the smaller school level, I would say something that is probably also like the larger schools, but our area is a very low income area at Neelyville. With that, sometimes the parents are working double jobs, triple jobs. The student is the parent sometimes at night. So helping them kind of navigate that along with their schoolwork. As a JAG teacher, it's a lot more. It's a lot easier for me because that is part of my job. That's part of what I do in the program. But when I was teaching a core class, like Kyler mentioned, your state standards, your testing at the end of the year, that's a very big deal, especially in public schools. So you still have to remember their people and help them achieve as good as they possibly can in the classroom, but at the same time, help them navigate those struggles and the realities that they're going home to every day. So
yeah, and I'm sure that some of the I'm not sure. I know some of the situations in both in Poplar Bluff and Neelyville, and this is every school, especially maybe I'm sure it's not just limited to this area. But there are so many kids that come from broken homes or homes that are, where they are the parent at, or they are the most responsible person in the house, and it's hard to watch those kind of things. I was a children's pastor for 9 years, and the things, Brad, you remember those days, and the things that we would see, the things that I would have to deal with, not during the week, and kids being molested and kids being all these different things, awful lifestyles, mom's in prison, dad's dead, or dad's in prison, mom's gone, they don't know where they're at, living with grandparents and stuff. You guys deal with these students on a daily basis. And something that I've really come to learn, dealing with men, right? Of course, we're talking about men, not students, but it applies the same, is trying to realize that the people that I'm dealing with are wounded.
Yeah. Yes.
You know what I mean? And I'm sure as a teacher, I'm sure kids get on your nerves. I'm sure that they push.
Precious baby angels.
Yeah. I'm sure they push the boundaries. Oh God bless my teachers. And, but
you had to show up first.
Hey, right. Yeah, I know. All right. We're not here to talk about me, but, but seriously, dealing with students that are wounded and coming from those, and the way that you have to handle certain situations versus somebody who, and I guess the point that I'm getting to is there's such a variety of kids, and I'm sure that it's difficult to navigate those relationships when there's so many wounds.
Yes.
You want to expand on that?
It's hard because and it goes back to that developing students with relationships with students, because a lot of their issues transcribe into behavior issues. Is they're acting out. If they're hungry, they want to eat in your class, you have that rule. They don't eat. They are going to eat anyways because they don't get it at nighttime. They don't get attention, so they're going to try to get attention from you at home. If they don't get enough sleep at home because they're up at nighttime for whatever reason, whether it just be simple like playing video games or they fear for their lives at night. I mean, the hardest part is knowing how to get that relationship open up so you can learn that information. Because they're not, I mean, kids and men are the same. They're not just going to open up to you. Right. It's hard. You've got to develop that relationship first, and then sometimes you develop the relationship and they still don't open up to you. And so you just feel like you've got this behavior issue that, I've got this good relationship with this kid, but he's not in my classroom. I can't get him to sit down. I can't get him to do anything. So the hard part is trying to get the students to open up so you can create a full understanding of who they are and the reasoning behind them. Because a lot of the behavior issues that we have, not all, I'm not saying all of them, but majority of them have a reason behind them. They're not just acting out to act out. They're acting out because of some reason, whether that be, fill in the blank, ... So the hard part is trying to, because you don't get enough time. I mean, I think I had 130 students last year just to myself for science.
That's a lot.
And I've got 50 minutes with those kids, like I said, and I've got to do, whatever else I've got to get done, teach them my standards. But I can't take that time to develop the relationship with those kids because there's me plus 30 kids in the class. My average class, I think my smallest class was 27 kids. And I can't develop those relationships. And that's the hard part, is I can't get to the root of the problem because I don't have enough time. There's not enough of me to do so.
Right. Red?
On that.
So anything to add to that?
Yeah. So in JAG, we have to do interviews every year with whether they're returning students or whether they're students that are new to the program. And the interviews get very personal. That's what we call barriers. And it would blow your mind how many junior high students have contemplated suicide or attempted self-harm, or have depression or low self-esteem and don't understand the value of who they are and their self-worth. And I think that translates to individuals in general. Especially in today's society, I just feel like as we continue to progress, that our self-worth, many people feel like it just continues to diminish. And that's a hard thing to do whenever, you have a student come in and needs to have somebody to talk to. So you have that conversation, and the events that transpired the night before, the week before, or that morning, it's a tough thing for kids at that age to even deal with. Then they shouldn't have to, but anyway, I think that's a big deal. So,
yeah. How much do you think that culture plays into the situations that you deal with on a day-to-day basis? Brad, I'll start with you.
Okay. So I think a ginormous amount. I think everything these kids are seeing on TV, I think social media, the relationships that they're creating online, or whether it be online or in person, I feel like more now than ever, the pressure for them to be somebody they're not, or to meet a certain standard that they shouldn't meet, is I think it's greater than it's ever been. And because of that, they're expected to mature way too fast, or not expected to, but they're pressured to mature way too fast. And because of that, I think all these emotions are building up in their bodies and their minds, and then they start to have negative effects from that. I think it's a big part.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Kyler.
I mean, he hit it on the nail. There's nothing. Your culture is what you're brought up in. It's what you value. It's what you deem as important. And a lot of these kids, they come to school and they don't see school as important. They don't want to be at school. That's not their end goal. Their end goal is not to go to college. Their end goal is not to get a degree. And we've put so much pressure on all kids to go to college now that it's become almost like an expectation. And they know, and some kids understand that that's an expectation that they can't meet. They know that they're not good at school. They can't do well in school. Some kids genuinely try, and their best is a C. Their best is, I am average, and I can do this, and I can't do any more. And some kids, things come harder for, and the culture plays a huge aspect in the fact that some parents don't require more. Some parents don't need more. They want you to do your best, and then some parents don't require anything. And then those are our D's and our F students that they're just trying to get by. They're trying to, get through to the day until they can go home again, and they got to do whatever. Or they're just, some kids wake up and they just go through the motions. We check off the list and we keep going. And that's the hard part, is we as teachers try to instill the importance of education in our students, but they're not worried about coming to school. They're worried about, what's their mom and dad going to think of them at the end of the day? Or what are their friends going to think of them at the end of the day? Or what's social media going to think about them at the end of the day? Or what's their next meal? That the culture behind it's going to play an aspect in it, because we don't realize that, and we live, teachers sometimes, and men, and everybody in education, we live in this bubble that education is the most important thing. And don't get me wrong, it is very important. But when we neglect to get to the root of the problem, we get to instill and change the culture of the area, you're not going to get anything better inside the school. And that's where we have tried. I know at the junior high, we focus so much on the culture that we build. And it's so important that bleeds outside into the community. And as a community, we don't always put an emphasis on education. We kind of just put an emphasis on, social status, on who's got the most followers, on who's got, whatever else. And we've taken that away. And that's the hard part, is trying to make sure that we are working to strive to change the culture so they deem it as important.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is fantastic. We're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to continue the discussion of culture in the schools. We'll be right back after this.
This portion of Real Men Talk is brought to you by the Jeweler's Bench. They are a full-service jewelry store offering many styles of gold, silver, diamonds, and gemstones. And all jewelry repair is done in-house, so you can get your treasured pieces back as soon as possible. They are also a licensed Citizen Watch dealer. Make sure to visit them today at 1353 North Westwood or call 573-686-1522. Call or stop in and thank them for bringing you Real Men Talk.
If you want to join in the conversation, join us on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. We gather with other like-minded Christian brothers to discuss hard-hitting topics that affect men on a daily basis, and use a biblical approach to overcome common strongholds that affect our families. We show men the importance of being the spiritual leader of their home and what it means to be a real man in the eyes of Christ. Join us at the Palace of Praise, located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. We meet in room 400 every Thursday. Come be a part of the discussion.
Hey, Bob, you want to turn down the stereo? I'm going to go to my room and pray for a while.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, Lord, all I want to do is please you. Just let me know what it is you would have me do, Lord.
Hey, Frank, Ed's here and he needs some old clothes for the mission. You want to give him your old leather jacket?
No way. I can get $20 for that easy.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, Lord, your will is all I want. Just lead me and I will follow.
Ed's also helping with the food drive at church. Wants to know if you can help.
Hey, stacking lima beans all weekend is not my idea of excitement.
Okay, I'll tell him you'll be busy.
Fine. Oh, Lord, I just want to do great things for you.
Hey, Frank, Dugan just called. He got kicked out of his dorm and needs a place to stay. Can he stay here for the night?
No way, man. Dugan's a hog. Tell him to call Ed.
Okay.
Oh, Lord, anything you want, just tell me.
Prayer. It's more than just talking to God. Another message from Lifeline Productions, the comic strip of radio at lifelinepro.com.
This portion of the Real Men Talk is brought to you by R.L. Persons Construction. For over 29 years, they have been a regional leader completing projects that include private, municipal, state, and federal agencies of all types. From mass grading, utilities, concrete of all types, to buildings both conventional and pre-engineered steel. You can expect excellence in all aspects of their finished work. Contact them today at 573-686-1323 and let them know you appreciate them bringing you Real Men Talk. If you have a question about this week's show, please drop us an email to realmen@palaceofpraise.com. We would love to hear from you. And now back to the show with Anthony and Kyler.
All right, guys. So first half, we had a fascinating discussion, and we left off about how culture had a play in the schools today. And so I kind of want to expand on that a little bit. You know, you were talking about the college, them putting so much emphasis on college, and it really seems to be a culture thing that they do. It has been for a while, so I want to get kind of, I don't know, whatever. With the political side of the schools, okay, how much stuff do you notice with them trying to push people towards colleges and different things like that is what you would deem as indoctrination?
Well, that's a hard one because we are fortunate enough in our area that we kind of still live in our own bubble, that we kind of get to control what we do and what we say. So yes and no. And the part that I mean the yes on is that it's more what they push out on social media, not necessarily what we're teaching in the school or pushing in the school, but what we're teaching in social media. Because we don't talk, especially at the junior high level, maybe more at the high school level, you could probably see more indoctrination happening where they want you and they're pushing, and counselors are coming in and they're talking to you and they're bringing in, college advisors, and they're pushing recruitment trips, and they're pushing, we give you a day off to go visit colleges and that kind of stuff. So there's probably a little bit on there, but it's not at the junior high level. I don't see it. We push it, but we've as a society and as a community, we've decided that going to college is the only way to better yourself, is the only way to take your spot to the next step. And so as a form of indoctrination, that route, yes, is because we've pretty much made it to where the only way that you're going to make yourself better is if you go to college and you get a degree. Mm-hmm. And we've taken the importance away from trade. We've taken the importance away from any other job other than a college degree. I mean, shoot, I'm not even using my undergrad degree. My undergrad was in pre-med, not education. Mm-hmm. And so that's the point, or that's the problem that we're getting to, is that as a society, the only way we think that we can get better is to do the more socially appropriate things, or those that get us into a social or a higher social class. I mean, I can look at you and I say I have a master's degree. Cool. But you automatically assume that I'm smart. I mean, most people, if you got a doctorate, you automatically assume that they're really smart. I mean, right. It's the status behind those things that we have put so much emphasis on, and that's where in schools that we go to. Right.
Right. What about you?
I kind of piggyback off what Kyler's saying. In our area, I feel like, and neither though what I see, we're fortunate to give kids opportunities. If they want to go to college, go to college. We'll give you the route. We'll show you how to get there, and we'll help you any way we can. But in the same token, college isn't for everyone, I'm a firm believer in whenever kids can go to a trade school and learn a trade and go out and make over $100,000 a year or $85,000 a year doing something that they're going to enjoy, they're going to love. It's going to be, maybe some physical labor, get some, mud on your boots. But, I feel like when I was younger, oh, absolutely. I felt like if I didn't go to college, then there wasn't much value, that I could present. But as I've gotten older and seeing the options that kids are given in our area and the different steps they can take to get to those routes, I don't think in our area we're specifically, but again, I agree with what Kyler says. If you look online or if you look at some of your larger cities, I guess it seems like it's pushed often. And I also think it depends on the district and also the teachers that are in the classrooms, because a teacher in a classroom can make a massive impact on if they don't control their own opinions, so I think it varies even from classroom to classroom. So,
right. All right. So let's expand on that. You were talking about, the different, the teachers being in the classroom, different stuff like that. So you as men, both of you as men, and how do you think that your influence is received as a man in the classroom?
I'll let Brad go first this time.
Go ahead, Brad.
Okay. All righty. So, that's a really good question, because when I taught elementary, the wonderful years of elementary, I realized, as a male teacher, I know, right? I realized as a male teacher, it was honestly like a superpower. And I don't mean that in any negative way at all, but like these kids were just like in awe. Like it was like anything you said, they held on to every word you said. Now that could be good and bad, so I think if you are a male in education, you have to take that with an immense amount of responsibility, because, as we spoke about earlier, the home lives, a lot of these kids that I see, might not have the best father figure or one at all. So when you're stepping foot into their lives and not really filling a void, but you're in a void that they search for, you're making a bigger impact than you know. And I realized that in elementary. And then as I progressed, even now coaching high school students and teaching junior high students, they long for it just as much as young, 8 or 9 and 10-year-olds, So I really do feel like there's something about that. I really do.
Yeah. And the same thing he said is, when you walk into a man's classroom versus a woman's classroom, a lot of the times, and this also depends on the lady who's in the classroom too, you will see a completely different dynamic. I have students who I didn't have many behavior issues. So when we'd sit down, we'd go to parent-teacher conferences, or we'd sit at lunch and we'd talk about the students. The female teachers on my team would tell me, I'm having issues with so-and-so, I can't get them to work, I can't get them to sit down. When I tell them to stop, they stop, or they won't stop. And so I've had to write them up, I had to call home, and I'm like, they're perfect angels in my class. There's just the different level of respect that is automatically given to a man, and I don't mean that negatively at all, but there's just, we demand a certain level. Like when I walk in and I talk, you're going to listen. Where that mothering nature comes in with females, and they want to take care of all of the other issues first. They want to make sure that, they have their pencil, they have all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, you bring your pencil to class. I'm not here to supply you with every single need that you have. I'm here to teach you. So you walk in my classroom, get your pencil out, get your paper out, let's go. Now, that sounds super harsh, but I understand that some kids, they don't get those items. So I will supply them. But that's the difference between the expectations of my classes. I won't lower them for nobody. I expect you to learn. I expect you to give me your best, and that's what I want from you. Where women and females are usually more apt to, gray that or blur that line a little bit more. And so there's just a different level of, the best part, is respect for men in the classroom, especially with students. And we see that because a lot of them don't have father figures anymore. They don't have that at home. If they have a figure, it's some other figure. And then they will then personify it. If they talk back to their mom at home, they're going to talk back to the female teachers. But you notice that if we call the dad at home versus the mom, if we call the dad, they usually are like, they straighten up right then and there. Mm-hmm. They are like, don't call my dad, call my mom. I'm calling the parent that you don't want me to call is what I'm calling.
Right.
That's exactly the one I'm doing. And so, and that's just kind of what we see. And that's the sad part, but it is a reality.
Right. Do you feel that the let me expand on this because I don't know how else to ask it without come across the way that it's going to sound. But do you feel that the position of a teacher is feminized, meaning that when people think of a teacher, right, the first person this is me. The first person that comes to mind is a sweet little lady, that is teaching, and his teaching. You know what I'm saying? And so my point is the lack of men in the schools. You know, typically when you do see men, that they're typically coaches or they are principals. You know, you don't see a whole lot of men teachers, right? Not that I'm trying to knock the females. You know, we need those. We need the nurturers. We need, you know, you need that side of it too. I get that. But do you think that there is a lack of men inside the schools because the position is feminized?
Yes and no. So I was listening to this YouTube short the other day about this guy, and he was talking, and he was saying that, how did he put it? He said there are certain jobs, I think it was Jordan Peterson who was actually talking about this. He said there are certain jobs that women are better at and that men are better at. Women are better at the nurturing jobs, taking care of people. If you'll notice, there's more women nurses, there's more women caretakers, there's more women teachers, there's more, the types of jobs where women have to be the nurturer or have a nurturing role or a more emotional role. Mm-hmm. That's where they play a role into it. Where men, we don't rely on our emotions majority of the time. We just go and we act. So getting the job done, those types of jobs, you know, construction, railroad working, you know, the task-oriented jobs, what we're going to do. And so I don't necessarily think that we have made teaching into a feminine role. Men just aren't as apt to do them because it is a huge emotional support that you have to provide to students, and we just aren't that person. We were not created that way. Some were created more that way. Some have those talents. Some were given those talents by God to be used. But as an overarching role, I mean, like men in administration, yeah, you're going to see that because they have a job. It's black and white. You know, they're the disciplinarian. They're the task-oriented people. This is the job I have to do at the end of the day. Where teaching, I mean, you're caring for the needs from education to the emotional support to everything in the classroom. So I don't necessarily feel that we've turned it into a feminine job. It's just women fit the role better.
Gotcha.
Brad?
I mean, I don't really know what else to add to that, but, you know, I agree. And I wonder if, you know, it's not, you know, if you think of, you know, 100 years ago, how many male teachers were there? You know, probably not many. If even further back, you know, how many male teachers were there? Probably not many, because like Kyler was saying, you know, I think oftentimes, the men, they just went out and they did the dirty work, the hard work, you know. So at some point, you know, that transition had to start happening to where there was a male teacher. You know, I cannot remember. I never had one male teacher until junior high, and then once I hit junior high, I only had one, I believe, that wasn't a coach. So, I mean, you know, now our district, we're starting to get a few more male teachers. I mean, we're a small district, so I mean, for the longest time, we just had like 2 or 3, but now we're starting to get more. But, you know, I don't know if it's because the job has been made into a feminist job or however you would put it. But I do think it's a good thing to get men into the schools, just for the simple fact that just to help guide these kids, you know. I mean, because like Kyler said, there's a very, very different role from a male teacher to a female teacher, and both are needed. You know, not one doesn't overpower the other or vice versa. They're both very needed. And but as far back, going back to your question, I don't really know the answer to that. I don't really know.
Yeah. Well, you know, and with culture being different, you know, you see a lot more disciplinary issues, you know, and you were, Brad, you were talking about, you know, 50, 100 years ago, you know, when you had the teachers in there and they weren't afraid to take a rule and smack you upside your head, you know, or you know, when there was real discipline able to take place, right? You know, when the influence you had in a room wasn't necessarily because you were a man or a woman, but because they, regardless of who you were, they put the fear of God in you, right? Yes. You know, versus today where, you know, culture has cultivated this, a child who does no wrong kind of thing, you know, where the child, you know, you're not allowed to discipline them. You're not allowed to do those things, you know. And so With that being said, you almost need, and not in every position, because you need women teachers. You need those nurturers. You need those. As a matter of fact, we went. With school starting back up and stuff like that, we went Mavericks 3. He's starting preschool, and we went and met his teacher. And I'm glad that it's a woman. He's that age. He needs that nurturing. He needs that somebody who's going to just kind of love him and guide him. And now don't get me wrong, if she needs to whoop him, I hope she whoops his tail. But I'm not one of those parents. And but it just seems like so last year I did quite a bit of subbing right here in the public school area, and I could always walk into a room and tell if the type of teacher, because it's not always in some of the men teachers we've had that I've subbed for, they might as well have been a woman. Like, there's no respect there. There's no, they don't care, or they either don't care or they have no control over the classroom. They have, they don't know how to use their influence over the kids or anything like that. You know what I mean? So it's not just a man figure, but we need people, men in their lives that are going to hold them accountable, that are going to give them rules, that are going to, even when they're not getting it at home. And I guess that's kind of where I was trying to go with that. But what is something that you think, and we're talking on the broader spectrum, okay? Not just necessarily Neelyville, or not just necessarily Poplar Bluff, but on a broader spectrum. What is something that you think that we desperately need today in our schools? Brad, we'll start with you.
Oh man. Okay. So, I think about this all the time.
Where do I start?
He's
got his list.
Yeah.
out.
Like I cannot tell you how often I think about this. And, the things that always come to my mind are, we desperately need accountability. We need respect. We need God. We need those. I mean, because here's the deal. Every student that I've dealt with that has been a negative encounter, there's zero accountability and zero respect, and when you make those calls to home, you quickly realize why, and it just is what it is. Students need to be held accountable. And that's across the globe, that people need to be held accountable, and we're seeing a society of no accountability. We're seeing a society of zero respect for authority or people in general. And that's just overflowing into our kids, and then into the schools. Those three things, and as time progresses, that God is going to continue to be pulled out of a classroom or out of a school, and making it harder and harder. But the truth is, those three things, without them, you might as well not go to school, because otherwise it just becomes babysitting and an absolute mess. So, but I would say accountability, respect, and God.
Yes,
excellent, Kyler.
I can't really add any more to that other than more support at home. I mean, there comes a time where, and I can't make people have a two-parent household, but it definitely helps having a two-parent household, having supportive parents, even if you're not together, making sure that the mom and the dad support each other, especially in the education, and seeing the importance. If one's going to see the importance, then they need to hold the same values, and making sure there's unity in their decision. And that's the part that's hard is we have so many split family households now, that mom will say one thing, dad will say another thing, or if they're with dad this week, we see a drop in their grades, or if they're with mom this week, we see a drop in their grades, or the consistency is not there, and that's the hard part. And so making sure that we have that accountability and that structure from home, that support from home on both sides would definitely change the day.
Yeah, and I'm sure that the lack of fathers in the homes have or the number of broken homes there are today. It plays a vital role in the culture that has been created, where kids don't have to be accountable. They like you were talking about, Kyler. Where one parent holds one value, the other parent holds completely different, and sometimes it's in spite of each other. and you see that, you see that a lot. I used to see that a lot as a children's pastor, and and it's sad, and here we are, you guys are trying to, teach and cultivate the next generation, and the parents are fighting tooth and nail, just like the kids are. And so if you had just real quick, just something to say to the men that will be listening that have kids in school, okay, what kind of advice or we'll just go with advice. What kind of advice would you give them that would encourage them to be a better father, or be a better role model, or help the teachers out inside the schools? Kyler, we'll start with you this time.
I would say to listen first, then react. I mean, as men, we want to react first. We automatically want to, if a teacher calls home, we want to discipline when they get home. Don't get me wrong, there needs to be consequences for everything. If you're going to misbehave at school, there needs to be a consequence. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is get to the root of the problem. Figure out why this is happening so you can fix the issue, and not just let it be a Band-Aid for the issue. And that's a lot of the times where we get to the father is the disciplinarian, and so you never get the issue, and it's never taken care of. It's just, Band-Aids put on it for 2 weeks, and then you get another phone call from the teacher, you discipline them again, and then you go from there. So just making sure that you listen before so you can take care of the issue, and then provide the consequence that is actually suitable for it.
Right. Brad, what about you?
I was thinking similar to that, try to find a solution rather than just a punishment. Try to find something that's going to help remedy the situation rather than just give the punishment to say, hey, I did this to take care of this. Is that really going to fix the issue? So that, and just be a learner, learn every day, because I think everything we do can be a learning experience. And if you're learning your kids, your people, whoever you're dealing with, if you're learning, then you're going to grow and hopefully find a fix to whatever you're trying to fix.
That's right. Well, guys, this has been fantastic. And Brad, I want to thank you for coming on here. And men, if you guys have, listeners, if you guys have got any questions or anything like that, feel free to email us, realmen@palaceofpraise.com. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Here we are, where schools are starting back up and different things like that. Remember that your children's teachers are people that, to where they may not be perfect, but they're trying to better your children. They're trying to hold them accountable. They're trying to teach them to be young adults, along with teaching them to the fundamentals of life, math, writing, and arithmetic, all the good jazz. And if you've liked what you hear here, please share. Of course, the more that it's shared, the better the algorithm is for it. And so I want to encourage you guys to do that. Also, we have a website that we just launched. I know I mentioned it last week. I won't mention it for a few weeks, but realmenministries.us. Go check it out. Let us know what you think. Hopefully we, contact us. All that good jazz. And as always, I want to end it in a prayer. Holy Spirit, guide us to be leaders of our homes, of our communities, and of our churches, and teach us to be godly, courageous men. In Jesus' name, amen.
You've been listening to Real Men Talk, brought to you by Palace of Praise Church in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. If you would like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email, realmen@palaceofpraise.com, or visit our website at palaceofpraise.com. If you're a man age 16 and up and would like to be a part of the conversation, join us at the Palace of Praise every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. If you don't have a home church, consider joining us for worship on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Palace of Praise is located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. New episodes of Real Men Talk drop every Thursday at 5 p.m. You can find us at iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, Anchor.fm, Amazon, and more. Real Men Talk is a production of Palace Media Service.
Real Men Talk has been brought to you this week by RLP Construction in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. For commercial contracting of all types, see RLP Construction today. And by the Jeweler's Bench in Poplar Bluff. They are your one-stop shop for all your fine jewelry needs. They also do in-house repair and are your Citizen Watch dealer. Make sure to thank our sponsors for bringing you Real Men Talk.
If you want to join in the conversation, join us on Thursday nights at 6:30 p.m. We gather with other like-minded Christian brothers to discuss hard-hitting topics that affect men on a daily basis and use a biblical approach to overcome common strongholds that affect our families. We show men the importance of being the spiritual leader of their home and what it means to be a real man in the eyes of Christ. Join us at the Palace of Praise, located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. We meet in room 400 every Thursday. Come be a part of the discussion.